Hey guys, Ranger here, and welcome back to part 2 of MLP FiM Season 9, episode, the beginning of the end, part 2. So, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Start video in 3, 2. So, Discord, so, as expected, Sombra is dead again. I don't know if he'll make another appearance in this season, but at least we know that we can look at the comic where he was featured in and know the comic is now canon. The comic is canon because Sombra got defeated again. So, yay! So, we got that. Yeah! That's great. Yeah! Oh, yeah. Okay, I said that, yeah, it was going to be foreshadowing because, okay, this was definitely a very interesting conclusion. Very, very intense conclusion to the Season 9 opener. This was a very, very good, very well done. And I think probably this is probably one of my favorite of the big boss battle specials. This is definitely one of my favorites, due to the fact of a few different things about this episode. Number one, how the characters deal with different things together, and second is the part with Discord. So first off, several different things to talk about with this episode. First off, Twilight found out that she was pretty much, just right after finding out that she's going to be the ruler of Equestria, suddenly she's thrust into the situation where she has to deal with King Sombra. And then suddenly she has to take on all of this. And they are able to defeat Sombra, but Twilight still feels that she's not ready. That she's not ready yet. And it's interesting that Twilight decided that she wasn't ready to take this on. And it's also interesting that Luna and Celestia later in the episode decided that they weren't going to step down from the throne right now, but that they were going to wait until Twilight is ready. Now, there's a few different things, or a couple different things that I want to point out about this. First off, yes, I'm glad. It wasn't that I am against Twilight becoming the ruler of Equestria. It's just that I think it would be better right now that Luna and Celestia continue to do it until Twilight is more ready, much more ready for it, instead of thrusting it upon her, which they realized that. They said that they realized that they thrust a lot upon her, and I think that after defeating, or helping Star Swirl to defeat the, or to hold back the Everfree Forest, I think they realized that they're not exactly ready to, I think they realized that they themselves that they're not exactly ready to step down from the throne yet. And they agreed that they would wait until Twilight was ready to take on that task. And I think this is a really great thing, because one thing that I don't believe in is that, every single moral has to be that you have to adapt to something right then. I believe that there are moments whenever something is going to take time, and there are things that you are not going to be ready for, and it's going to take time to adapt. It's going to take time for growth to get yourself accustomed to that. And two other really great examples that I can give is there was one episode before where for Fluttershy, I remember Fluttershy made the mention that she's taking baby steps. And it was a growth episode for her, but not something that she was completely willing to fully 100% accept or do. She admitted that she wasn't ready for something, ready for the full commitment of it yet, but that it will take baby steps. And I really liked that it showed that slow progression with her. Um, and another episode was the beginning, I think, of season 8. I think it was where Twilight, uh, I think it was Celestial Advice, where Twilight was very concerned about sending Starlight away so she can learn her own friendship lessons. And whenever she tasked Starlight with that, Starlight was like, I'm not ready. She said that she didn't want to leave right now, that she's not ready for it. And Twilight was totally fine with that. She wanted Starlight to stay. And I honestly hope that Starlight doesn't leave, but I think that it's honestly relatable, and I love that they did that. And I was hoping that they would do that with Twilight here. Is that she would is that they would. I was honestly hoping that they would do that, and I'm so glad that they decided that they did go that route and not fully task that upon her, but instead tell her when you're ready to take that step. And it's very much more like real life, because there are times, sometimes you can accept something or get tasked with something and you can take on that role and you can do it. Other times it's a major step for you and it's something that you have to gradually and slowly accept. It's not something that you can just accept just like that. You have to grow into it. You have to adapt mentally, emotionally, and maybe even physically, depending on what it is. And I really love that they showed that, and it's very much more realistic that you don't have, and it's a very true moral, that you don't have to jump headfirst into everything and accept every single responsibility that comes your way. There are times whenever, if you feel that you're not ready, that's fine. Just take your time, take a deep breath, and take baby steps to gradually ease yourself into that. That's what you have to do sometimes. And I'm very glad that they went that path with this episode and did not just have Twilight become princess just immediately or in the next few episodes, but instead she admitted that she's not ready for this task yet. This is not something that she's ready for. And if there's ever a situation in life where someone tries to make fun of you, talk down to you about, or like belittle you, and because you're not ready for something, you're honestly more mature for understanding and have more common sense for understanding that you are not ready for something right yet, and that you're not going to do it right now, or that you're going to take baby steps with it. And I have a lot of respect for people who are able to look at the situation, analyze it, and say, I'm not ready yet. Like, you're using common sense. You're not thrusting yourself into a situation that could potentially be dangerous for you or maybe someone else, or both. You're using your head, and you're saying you're able to look at it, pardon me, from an outside perspective and say, I'm not ready for this yet. And I'm really glad that they went with that, and I'm really happy that Celestia and Luna are totally fine with it, and they realize we just put a lot of pressure on her, and so we need to give her some space, give her some time. And I'm also happy that Twilight is not going to be Princess of Equestria right now, because I still think that she hasn't been the Princess of Friendship very long. Yeah, she's had her wings and she's kind of adapted to her wings, but since season 3, but still, I think she's still kind of mentally and emotionally getting used to being an alicorn. And I don't think she's 100% accepted that yet. And then there's also and now she also has a school that she's having to run. She's still the head mayor, or the headmistress of her own school. Plus, she's still in a sense a bit of a student to Celestia. She possibly considers herself that. And she's also now Starlight's mentor and teacher. And so there's still a lot on this girl's plate right now, that let alone having to take on being Princess of Equestria, of the whole country. So yeah, I think right now Twilight already has a lot on her plate, and I think that it's good for her to just take a breath, take a step back, and say, I'm just going to focus on what's going on in my life right now before I take anything else on. And I think that is the mature and responsible thing to do. And in real life, I know for a fact, I've actually seen people do this before, that they take on more than they can handle. That they think they can handle it, but then they get completely overwhelmed and they get burnt out because they take on too many responsibilities. And this is never a good thing. This is never a good thing to do. And so I really have to admire Twilight for wanting to take a step back and take a breath and just, get her ducks in a row, collect her bearings before she begins to even take on anything else. But she has the option to her, and I think that that is something that she will kind of explore from time to time. Is definitely something that she will consider. It's an option that she has open, but I think that right now she's just going to focus on her life as it is and the things that she still has going on. I mean, she still has a little baby niece. I mean, she still has a niece. She's still kind of adapting to being a niece as well. And so there's still that. And so she's still got a lot going on right now in her life. And I think that she's just trying to focus on that. And that's the responsible and mature thing to do. And I'm very glad that they went with that. And I think it's also fun because Luna and Celestia actually got to help out in this episode. They weren't just... And that's actually a comical joke, is that whenever everything had gone to crap, and whenever everything had gone to crap, and Rainbow Dash made the mention, Luna and Celestia are never there anyway. With the other villains, they're never there. They're completely absent. I mean, Celestia wasn't even present whenever Twilight and her friends defeated Nightmare Moon. She wasn't even there. And then suddenly she just appeared, like, bow at my presence. No offense, like, I love Celestia too. But suddenly, she just suddenly appears, and then she was present whenever Chrysalis tried to take over during a Canterlot wedding. But she got defeated, and then just suddenly, at the end of the episode, then Luna appears and says, "Hello, Everpony. Did I miss anything?" Really? So yeah, it's funny because they legit poked fun at the fact that Luna and Celestia are not hardly featured be doing anything. And I know that they did more stuff before Twilight and her friends started defeating villains, and so kind of, Luna and Celestia, I guess, in a way, were able to take a break. But in this episode, after helping Star Swirl to keep back the Everfree Forest, they realized that they still have fun doing it. And so I think that that's another thing for them as well, is understanding that not only did they kind of put too much pressure on Twilight for this, but they also realized that they still had fun also, defeating bad guys. And so I think that I think that possibly, as long as they get to defeat some bad guys from time to time, they're probably still going to be totally fine with being rulers of Equestria, as long as they get a hoof in defending it, which is very much understandable. So heck, I would honestly like to see Luna and Celestia be able to defeat a bad guy later on. I honestly would like to see that. So maybe we'll actually get to see that later on. Because I know that they have power in them, a lot of power, and so I think just give them a chance, and they'll be able to kick some bad guy butt. And I think they will really enjoy it. I love that Twilight is not fully ready to accept this task, but her friends are there. Her friends, they have her back, and they're ready to take on helping her to being part of Twilight ruling over Equestria. But they're totally fine. They accept and that they understand that she's not ready to take this task on. And I think they themselves may also feel that maybe they're not completely ready for it completely yet. And again, that's very much respectable. But another thing that I really admire about this episode as well is the fact that it shows the damage. That's something that I really admire about this episode that we don't normally see before. We don't normally see before, which is them like them witnessing the damage. And this is something that we've never really seen before. I mean, we see Applejack interacting with her sombrified sister, with her sister who is in a trance, and she tries to get through to her, and we actually have to see the distress, and we hear the distress in Applejack's voice as she tells Twilight, "Help my sister, help my little sister." And this is Applejack's family that she's having to see like this. And it's not just that. I mean, Twilight has to see Spike as well, and Starlight, again, two other friends of hers, and she can't do anything to help them. Like, she can't do anything to help them at all. And we get to see, for the first time, and even with Rarity, we get to see the distress of the characters as they are ground zero. Like, here, I mean, Rarity's just kind of having a breakdown because of her little sister. And Twilight's doing her best to comfort her, even though everything has just gone to crap. And then there's still a comical moment with Pinkie and the cake, but still, like, it's heartbreaking for even Pinkie. And normally Pinkie is the more upbeat, happy one in these scenarios, but even for Pinkie, this is heartbreaking. And so it's very seldom ever that the characters are ground zero, and they get to witness the damage and the mental and emotional impact that these villains have on their friends. Normally they're not even present to see it, but they're not around the area, and they just defeat the villains. But here they actually are ground zero, and they get to see that damage that was done. They get to see their friends and their family in a trance, and it scares them because they don't know if they can free them. And so it's a very distressful moment for them. And so this is I gotta say, this is a very impactful scene as well, because we get to witness firsthand the distress of these characters of seeing everything unfold around them, and the fear of not knowing if they can do anything about it. And so, yeah, I really admire this episode because of that, because it's not often that you get to see that, and I really love it. But Sombra is able to take over, and again, it's funny because Sombra is able to fully take over Canterlot, and the princesses were not even around, but the princesses do appear, and they're able to help Star Swirl to hold back the Everfree Forest, which is a very awesome moment to see, like Luna and Celestia working with their original tutor, with their original teacher, to help to defend Equestria and save, Ponyville, and try to help to keep the Everfree Forest back. So this is really, really awesome to see this trio working together with this. Another interesting thing is that this was another segment too, where the Twilight and their friends were put in a situation that they wasn't certain. Like, they were facing down their friends and other people that they knew, other ponies that they knew. But one of my favorite segments about this episode, Discord has definitely come a long way here, but Discord, he knew that Twilight and her friends, he knew of the power that they held. He knew how unbeatable that they were. But, Discord, he has his own way of helping to bring out the best in someone. And it's very interesting at how far he's come, since, Fluttershy definitely had an impact on him, helping to change his attitude around. And Discord knew that they had the ability, that they had the power to defeat Sombra if they just would work together and believe in their own power, which is the power of friendship. And we see that little segment whenever they ask Sombra to deal with the bad guys, and we see this little moment where he has this funny look on his face, and I knew he was planning something. I knew he was planning something. And so here he starts doing this little monologue, about like trying to tell them, you know, I wanted you to shine here, but I guess I have to do all the work. And the funny thing is that Discord kind of set this up. He made the mention about Fluttershy being the favorite, and he set this up. But now I could easily look at this, anyone could, and say that Discord took a gamble here by putting the person that he cared for the most, um, pointing them out for a bad guy. But the thing is, Discord is very powerful. He's more powerful than Sombra, and so he could have dealt with Sombra easily. And so I really don't. I think Discord knew. You know, he knew that he could handle the situation 100%. And if he had any doubts in his mind, he wouldn't have done that and jeopardized Fluttershy. I know Discord would not have done that. He would not have jeopardized Fluttershy. Whenever Fluttershy immediately becomes the target, I knew that Discord was not going. You know, he was going to jump in front. He was going to he was going to try to save her. And then Discord gets hit by Sombra's magic. And this is honestly one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode right here, because that little segment where the first one to react is Fluttershy. And this, like, we see the absolute shock and sheer terror and heartbreak on this girl's face, on this poor girl's face. And, like, the shock on her face. This is heartbreaking to see, honestly. But, like, she's immediately crying. And, like, out of all of them, the rest of them are just kind of shocked and saddened. But Fluttershy, you can tell how close that Fluttershy is to Discord, because, like, she just watched someone extremely dear to her get blasted. And it's definitely affecting Fluttershy the most. And then Fluttershy, like, it's cute, but it's also heartbreaking whenever Fluttershy is, like, trying to gently shake Discord, telling him, please wake up, please wake up. Like, this girl is begging him to be okay. And again, it's a heartbreaking moment. And then it's adorable how she does rest her little cheek, like, on his neck. And then whenever she sees him, like, wake up, that, like, her little wings just fly up in joy, and, like, the sheer joy on her face. And then she just embraces them. And this is honestly a very beautiful scene in this episode. It really is. And then this little scene where Discord. And then this little scene. Like, this is so cute. Discord begins to do this beautiful, absolutely beautiful speech. And, like, he touches her cheek. And, like, holds her, like, her face in his claw. How many of us bronies have desire to be able to do that? How many of us are envious of Discord right now at this moment? I mean, look at that scene. He doesn't do it with any other character. Fluttershy is the only one whose cheek he touches. He doesn't touch any of the rest. It's just Fluttershy, because she's the most precious to Discord. That's so sweet. That is so sweet. I love it. But this scene with Discord telling them, this is one of my favorite scenes in this episode right here. This beautiful speech from Discord, this amazing speech from John Delancey. This is by far the most favorite thing that I've ever heard Mr. Lancey say as Discord right here in this episode. This is by far my most favorite thing that I've ever heard him say as Discord. This is just absolutely brilliant. The deliverance is impactful. It's full of emotion. And you could interpret this for a few different things. First off, it's a showing of how far that the characters have come. Discord has seen a lot from this gang over the years now that he's known them, and he knows how far that they've come. But I think that you could also interpret this as possibly for being to the brony community as well, and that we've all come a long way as well in this fandom over the years, over the past 8 years, now going on 9, and we are all here, like Discord says to the main 6, we are all here together as well, and nothing can take that away from us. And so again, to Mr. Lancy, beautiful, absolutely incredible speech. Thank you for delivering it so amazingly well. Thank you so much. It was just brilliant, and it was just such a great speech. And as Twilight, at this point, Twilight is raging. At this point, she's completely raging, and it's cool that she deflects the magic, and she's like, "We're going to get back up." This is kind of like the equivalent of, in a movie, a bad guy hitting a villain. A bad guy hitting a hero, and the hero just gets hit, but the hero just keeps coming even though they've been hit, because it's that drive and determination that is now powering them. It's the adrenaline that is pumping through them. And I love that little moment where Twilight just completely uses her magic to deflect Sombra's magic, and that hair flip that she does with it, that's like, screw you, man. You're going down. You're going to eat it. And so every one of them, they band together. And this is the moment whenever they realize that friendship is one of the most powerful elements. That even though Twilight has magic, she's more powerful with her friends. They didn't need the elements at all. They didn't need the elements because they are the embodiment of the elements. They each are the embodiment of the elements of harmony. Twilight is magic. Applejack, well, that's what Discord said. They are all. Applejack is honesty. Pinkie is laughter. Fluttershy is kindness. Rarity is generosity. Rainbow is loyalty. They are all the embodiments of the elements of harmony. The elements of harmony chose them, and their cutie marks are all symbols. Their cutie marks match that of the elements. They are the embodiment of the elements of harmony. They don't need the elements of harmony because they are the elements of harmony. And it is through them. It is through them that magic exists. And this is a very beautiful moment. But there's a couple of things, I kind of can't help. I can't honestly help but feel sorry for Sombra here because of the quivering lip that he has. I honestly can't help but feel sorry for the guy because, he's actually showing fear and disbelief here, knowing that he's going to get destroyed again. But like I said, I'm okay with this because I know now that the comic where Radiant Hope is that it brings him back, and then he's redeemed, and then they venture off and then at the end of the comic they venture off together. That's canon to me. That's fully canon. That takes place after this. This was honestly foreshadowing. I knew it. I knew it was. The moment that Twilight said, "You can't destroy our friendship," you could easily say, yeah, a villain can't destroy. He could take away their magic. Maybe somewhat, but they still had the magic of friendship between them. But I knew that this was also foreshadowing. Because what if a villain, namely Grogar and the other villains, try to destroy that friendship? To try to break that magic? And Rainbow Dash says, "We keep telling bad guys." And Applejack says, "But you just don't seem to remember." And they say friendship is magic. Well, this honestly kind of, again, this might be a great way to beat the bad guy, But at the same time, I feel very uneasy about this because I sense bad things on the horizon. I'm thinking about, you know how, if you're a Supernatural fan like me, you know how generally whenever you hear Bad Moon Rising in the show, something bad's going to happen? Yeah, Bad Moon Rising needed to play at this point because it was something bad's going to happen. I just know it. I don't know if a bad guy's going to try to get between them or what, but this does kind of go back to Cozy Glow. Cozy Glow made the mention about friendship being the most powerful magic in Equestria. And this kind of proves her point. This actually does kind of prove her point. This also proves the point of Grogar, that their friendship is what is able to help them to constantly defeat the bad guys. And if the other bad guys work together, they can deal with it. But there's honestly a slightly disturbing moment whenever Sombra is blown into bits, and you can see him just being completely almost incinerated by magic. And this moment, of course, whenever they found out the Discord was pretending, Fluttershy and Twilight had the most they both. There's a combination of different things. Applejack, Rainbow, Rarity want to rip Discord a new one for pretending. Twilight is just shocked. Like, really, you did all that for nothing? You made us do all that and go through all that? Fluttershy is kind of distraught because you pretended to almost die. Really? That hurt me. Luna and Celestia are just kind of they're totally oblivious to it. Pinkie is just like, what? You what? But it's funny that whenever Rarity makes the mention about Discord, like he has a funny like he could have dealt with Sombra anytime that he wanted. With ease. No problem. And that little cute moment with Fluttershy where she says he didn't do it because he cares. That's adorable. And Rainbow, she's used to Discord. She remembers what happened before during the Christmas episode. So yeah, she's used to Discord and his mannerisms of how he helps others. It's funny that even Pinkie kind of feels like, okay, this may have went a bit too far. And I love this kind of a little reference, kind of a little interesting, I call it a callback to episode 1 and 2 of season 2, where Discord becomes the stained glass window. Yeah, that's cool. And I have to say, Cozy, Tirak, and Chrysalis are an interesting trio. They are. Cozy is like, all right, now we're just going to gather together. We're going to gather around the campfire. We're going to sing songs about friendship, and we're going to try to say something positive about each other. How about it? This is comical. It really is, because like Cozy is honestly the most level-headed one out of all of these. She's just very calm and mellow about it and having a blast with it. And it's funny because like these three would make a hilarious trio on a road trip. They would. They honestly would. But of course, like I said, Grogar is like the villain. He's like the wise villain. I just now noticed that there are runes on his. On his collar. I'm not sure what they mean. I didn't see the other side. Yeah, there are runes. No, they're not runes, but the one on this side right here looks like a G, and there look like another markings on this one, but they're identical on both sides. So I don't think that they might be runes, but they're the same runes on just mirrored on both sides. But one thing that I have to point out is this kind of villain. Grogar is, like I said, he's the wise. He's kind of the wise, very calm villain, the bad guy, that kind of has been around the block a few times. He knows the works, and so he's able to think and plan. And he's kind of the more scary psychological villain, you know? Um, and it's to the point that even uh, all the others here, like Cozy, even Chrysalis, and Tirac. Cozy, I can more understand her kind of being afraid of him, but Chrysalis and Tirac, they're like, Tirac's sweating here. And they're like agreeing with him. They're like, no, I'm good, totally good. Like, they kind of fear this guy. So, yeah, this is interesting whenever you have one major, whenever you suddenly have a villain come out of the shadows who, like, employs other villains. And originally, all these other villains together were totally, they were kind of okay working together, but then they realized how dangerous that this other guy is. And so, yeah, this is a very interesting setup, and I do like that they went with that. I like that they were kind of afraid of him, and they weren't just totally willing to help, because this shows that they themselves have an understanding of this guy and his mental ability and possibly power-hungry ways, and maybe makes them aware that if they cross him, he will not hesitate to destroy them to get what he wants. And Tirac also did that before. He baited Sombra, Discord, and completely used him. So Tirac probably, I'm sure he knows about that. Cozy as well, no doubt. But like, they're kind of just okay. Even Chrysalis here, they're kind of sweating as well. Like, these three are just like, nope, this is not going. This guy's dangerous. And it ends with a very ominous scene of his eyes glowing. So yeah, very interesting setup for the rest of the season. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I really love this. This is definitely one of my favorite of the finales. Definitely one of my favorites. But there's a few other things that I want to say. First off, I'm not really sure what's going to happen. The Tree of Harmony has been destroyed. Like I said, the tree was able to manifest itself into a version of Twilight before, and was able to help the young six. But now the tree is gone, so I'm wondering, will the tree be able to repair itself? What will happen? And now that the tree is gone, what can they do? The Tree of Harmony is destroyed, which means now Star Swirl is going to have to try to keep the Everfree Forest at bay. So what is really going to happen with that? Can they repair the tree? Will the tree grow again? What will happen? And with the elements are gone. Which again, the main six are the embodiment of the elements. So you really they don't need the elements, but just kind of wondering how that's going to work out. The other thing as well is these villains are going to try to work together. And so we know that this is not the last we've seen of them. This is just a prologue into what's going to happen later on. I do hope that we're not going to go the rest of the entire season and then wait till the last 2 episodes of the season before we finally see them again. I'm hoping that we do see more of them throughout the season and things that they'll try to do. But yeah, this is... I'm wondering how they're going to work together, and could this be the most dangerous villain? Could this Grogar fellow be the most dangerous villain that the main six has faced thus far? I don't know. I still probably would have to say that Chrysalis and Tirac was probably the worst. But is this Grogar guy going to be the worst? I don't know. But we're definitely going to have to wait and see what happens. And I do see some foreshadowing for the future, for what could happen. I'm very curious to see how this is going to get resolved. Like I said, I love Discord's speech, and I think that you could easily apply that to the show, clearly. But I think that you could also apply it to the Brony community as well. And one thing also that I have to add is, it's crazy knowing that this is the final season. I said before that they didn't change the intro for season 9. That hits not the new version, the new song, or rather the rendition that we heard in the trailer. And I said that I'm glad actually that they didn't go with that, because every time that we started the episode, we would be sad. Every time that this episode would start, if we heard that slower version. So I'm glad they kind of didn't go with that. If we do hear it, I hope that it is the final episode. I hope that it is the final episode. But that brings me to the final thing that I was going to say, which is it's surprising now to be starting the new season, the final season of MLP. Um, and it's shocking for me that this is the final season because I remember vividly the day that I watched Look Before You Sleep, and I first saw the show for the first time, and then that Saturday that I watched Sweet Andy Leet, and I knew that I was a brony. I admitted that I was a brony, and then the following episodes, after that, Baby Cakes, the last roundup, and just getting involved in more and more stuff that I saw with the fandom, fan art, fan fiction, music, animation, and just I remember it all so clearly, so vividly. It's hard to believe that it's been like 7 years ago for me. It's hard to believe. But regardless, I'm still happy to be where I am, and I'm proud to be a part of this fandom. And I wouldn't change a moment that I've been a member of this fandom that I've been a part of this fandom for anything. I wouldn't change a moment of it because it's been so incredible. And regardless of what happens in the future, regardless of what lays on the horizon, MLP may end, but Bronies and Pegasisters will continue to exist. That's a guarantee. We will still continue to exist. And the Brony fandom will still continue to exist in some way or another. It will continue to exist. And regardless of what happens, even whenever MLP ends, there will still be those of us, myself included for sure, that our YouTube channels will still be MLP based, and we'll still do MLP related things. And so I'm not going anywhere. I'm a brony for life, and I'm staying. I'm not going anywhere. And so to everybody that worked on this episode, everybody, thank you all so much. Really great start, really intense start to season 9. So thank you all so much. Really great, very, very interesting start. Thank you all so much. And also thank you to everybody as well for 8 amazing years of MLP, and looking forward to the rest of the season. So thank you all so much. And also again, to the writer for writing the dialogue for Mr. Lancey, and to John DeLancey for delivering such a powerful line as Discord. Thank you. Thank you all so much. That was just amazing. Thank you. And thank you guys again for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed. And again, let me know what you guys think in the comments as well. Thank you guys again for joining me. Hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care, and Brony and Pegasus are on.